Hi, this is Secretary David Bernhardt, and this is This Week at Interior.
This Week at Interior. After more than 3 years, the Washington Monument reopened to much fanfare this week. First Lady Melania Trump and Secretary Bernhardt cut the ribbon and welcomed back visitors to the newly restored monument, which has a new elevator and updated secure access center. The Secretary also joined area youngsters taking part in the Every Kid Outdoors program. And as part of the reopening festivities, the Secretary welcomed an Irish delegation earlier this week. They braved the 50-story walk down from the top to admire the latest commemorative plaque installed inside the monument, a gift from the people of Ireland to the United States. In California this week, President Trump visited the southern border to inspect the progress of border wall construction and discuss the national security and humanitarian crisis taking place. Meanwhile, Secretary Bernhardt announced the transfer of administrative jurisdiction of approximately 560 acres of federal lands to the U.S. Army to build roughly 70 miles of border barriers. That comes in response to the Defense Department's announcement on September 4th of this year to defer $3.6 billion in funding for 11 barrier projects. Check out the whole story at DOI.gov. The Secretary's Migratory Bird Conservation Commission has approved $28 million for wetlands conservation grant funding. These grants will be matched by more than $72 million in partner funds. It all goes to ensure waterfowl and other birds are protected throughout their life cycles. Secretary Bernhardt says these public-private grants help uphold President Trump's promise to American sportsmen and women to preserve our nation's wildlife and provide access to our public lands for future generations. Find out more at FWS.gov. The director of the U.S. Geological Survey was in Palau delivering remarks at the U.S. Coral Reef Task Force business meeting. Dr. James Riley's remarks highlighted USGS science as it relates to coral reef health, degradation, ecosystem impacts, and restoration. Get the latest news on coral reefs at USGS.gov. The National Park Service is celebrating the completion of Locks 3 and 4 of the Chesapeake and Ohio Canal National Historical Park. The historic canal, which runs through Washington, D.C., Maryland, and West Virginia, was constructed nearly 2 centuries ago. For the last few years, artisans have used period tools and methods to reconstruct the lock and preserve the C&O Canal's history and heritage. Find out more at NPS.gov. The Bureau of Safety and Environmental Enforcement held an outreach and informational meeting this week at their Gulf of Mexico region office. Industry representatives from about 20 offshore oil and gas companies learned about BSEE's requirements for incident reporting, BSEE's investigation process, and they also provided feedback. The Bureau of Reclamation is one step closer to bringing safe, reliable drinking water to 4 pueblos and parts of Santa Fe County, New Mexico. Reclamation this week signed on to an agreement renegotiating cost shares and cost savings measures in the Pojoaque Basin Regional Water System Project. That clears the way for a final environmental impact statement. Get details at usbr.gov. And Reclamation Commissioner Brenda Berman was on hand this week at a dedication for the James W. Broderick Hydropower Plant at Pueblo Dam in Colorado. Reclamation says the plant is one of 14 built on existing dams so far under a lease of power privilege and shows how maximum benefits can be realized from existing federal projects. President Trump issued a proclamation declaring this week as the start of National Hispanic Heritage Month, a month set aside to pay tribute to the generations of Hispanic Americans who've positively influenced and enriched our nation and society. About 7,000 Hispanic and Latino Americans call Interior home. That's a full 1/10 of our workforce. Check out HispanicHeritageMonth.gov. And our social media picture of the week, this glorious sunrise over Mesa Arch at Canyonlands National Park in Utah. Canyonlands' landscape of canyons, mesas, buttes, and deep river gorges reveals millions of years of deposited sediment and erosion, a true test of time. Thanks to John Chico for an amazing photo. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. That's This Week at Interior.